everybody? Welcome back to the Unversed podcast. Danny here. Today I am talking about Golden Kamuy. Back on the manga grind, caught up to the latest chapter of this manga. And man, I don't know what to expect because I just saw it and I'm like, hey, that's a cool thumbnail. You know, let's check it out. And I liked the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, he's waking up with PTSD from the Japanese-Russian War. This sounds interesting, and the main plot now is, there's these prison convicts that escaped, and they all have tattoos on their body that lead to gold. And of course, you're thinking, yeah, no, that's not real, until the guy takes off his shirt the next day, and you see the tattoo, and it's like, oh, it is real. Okay. Let's go. And so it's about the main character, Sugimoto the Immortal. He got the nickname through the war because no matter how messed up his body was, he would not die. He made sure he would not die in this war. And also an Anui girl named Acacia? Let me look it up again, just to double check. But they're the main characters. Right? And Aspera, excuse me. Her name is Aspera. But yeah, it's about these characters and pretty much their journey onto finding the gold, which is what I thought it was going to be. And it's something like that, and a little something of not slice of life, but more cooking, right? Because there's a lot of scenes, I'm sorry, I'm reviewing this like a movie. There's a lot of chapters where they're just in the forest, just eating Anui food, right? Anui they're like these, I guess, indigenous people, right? For Japan. Like in Japan, there's these people out there like that. And that's how it pretty much is for most of the manga, is just them trying to find the escaped convicts and then them just chilling, hanging out, eating all this good looking food. And I was thinking, like, man, like this manga wants to pull in two different directions. Like, where are we actually, I don't mind it, but why isn't it just two separate stories if that's the case, right? I would rather have one thing where, like, okay, like, what are we trying to tell here? And they're staying in Anui villages, right, throughout Japan, and I don't mind that, and showing the cultures through that aspect of them visiting. It's like, oh, we're gonna eat their food from here, but it's like, a couple chapters in a row of just constant food chapters. I'm thinking that's not what I really wanted for this manga. I always wanted to get that more serious approach. And eventually the manga decides, like, yeah, no, we're going to do that. It's going to happen, and it does happen because we get a lot of new main characters who are also looking for the gold, and this struggle between, all these conflicts happening, like, because there's like 3 factions going on and like all these crazy alliances and stuff, and it's a good read, man. The art's great. When it gets serious, it will be a serious manga. And there's just the funny stuff too, going on, like classic Japanese humor when it comes into mangas, like characters making weird faces, and just, they have these one lines that they'll always say that's kind of funny, typical stuff that you would find, and that's it, like the characters too. I think characters are great. The flashbacks, I think, are also interesting, and the PTSD dreams that Sugimoto has, I think is a nice touch, because it reminds you of, like, hey, sure, he's good at fighting, but remember what he went through to get there. I think that's important for this manga. Because this gold can potentially start another war in the country, and like, we don't think, the manga tells us, like, yeah, no, there's no way Sugimoto's gonna want that, right? So seeing that play out, just good stuff. And it's not a long read. It's not a hassle to read. Even the ones where there's a lot of explanations of the food, like, you could kind of breeze through it. There's 149 chapters out currently. And now it's as serious as it's ever been. As far as everything else that's been going on. Now it's just like this big turning point in the plot. And it's just some crazy stuff, man. I highly recommend it. Go check it out. Other than that, the only thing to say is I just can't wait for the next chapter to see where it's going to end. And I'm glad it's moving forward, because the parts where it was a lot of food, the plot wasn't going anywhere. Like, there was no new characters introduced. There was no side stories of other characters doing things to move the plot forward. It was just kind of stuck for a while. And, I like to think, like, oh, okay, maybe he's doing that to give himself time to think, the mangaka, right? Give himself time to think of what to do with the plot. But man, it just happened for so long. It was just like, okay, we get it. Hurry up with the plot, So I'm glad that he eventually kicked it forward and it hasn't really been delayed. And even like the side stories that pop up in here that are not part of the main plot, it's still connected some way, and you don't feel like it was a wasted chapter. So that's good, because we all know filler is the worst thing to have in any manga or anime. So that's pretty much my only complaints, really. I think all the characters are great, like I said before. Good character development for everybody. Anybody that's important anyways. Because there's some characters that are like a main focus, but they don't get developed because what else can you really do with their character? The only way I could see them developing is if they have flashbacks of them at the war, because the war has changed a lot of these characters from how they were. So I think it's great to see those flashbacks specifically, to see, because you got to see the character how they were, and then what they've become because of the tragedies during the war that happened to them. So that is all I have to say, really, for Golden Kamuy. I do highly recommend it. It's a good read. Kept me engaged. I was like, yeah, no, I'm focused in this. I definitely want to read this, see what is going to happen next. And while we wait for the new chapters, remember, you can always email us at unversedpodcast@gmail.com for any questions, comments, concerns. And you can follow us on social media at unversedpodcast anywhere you go. And as always, we will talk to you next time.
Cha-ra-ra-ra, 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 chan cha-ra-ra-ra, chan cha-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra, chan chan。ジャックが仲間になった。